Hello, Sami Abdul Noor. Subject today is the non-Arab peoples who supposedly became Islamized during the Arab conquests. Mainly Turks and Persians, and we begin with the Turks. Turks are not from Turkey. Turkey was first conquered by Arabs, not Turks. And the Turks they come from Central Asia, what is now Mongolia. They are a Bedouin type of Mongol people with a very low, at the time of the Arab conquest, a very low civilizational standard and cultural standard. They had no written language at all. Various tribes of the Mongolian steppe, and the Arabs had no contact with Turks before the Arab conquests, which reached from the Arabian Peninsula to China. First, to reach China, they first conquered Persia, Iran. Northeasternmost border of Iran is an area called Khorasan, is where they began to conquer the Turks. So it's a vast area. It now comprises many states: Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, all these Stan states, all the way to Mongolia, to the Chinese border, including the Chinese Muslims, the Uyghur, who are also Turks. The Arabs conquered all that area, and they came into contact with the Turks. The sources have the Turks, at least prior to the Turks, there was no such thing as an institution of homosexuality within Arab society. Homosexuality was extremely frowned upon, and any source mentioning anything of the sort included death in some way or another. They were killed, and they're very rare, 2 or 3 incidences in the entire Arab history prior to Islam. After Islam, during the conquests, there's very little or no mention. It becomes the mainstream during the Abbasid era. Homosexuality becomes a very acceptable and very, between quotations, beautiful thing in the Abbasid era. Now, why is that? In a society that for thousands of years didn't have anything of the sort, or frowned at least upon it and dealt very harshly with it, into making it the mainstay of the Islamic state, between quotations, Islamic. Why is that? The Arabs themselves were baffled by it, and they said the reason, the original Arabic sources, is Persia. This happened because of the Iranians. It was their institution. It came to us from Khorasan, which is, as I said, the northern east part of Iran. The first contact with the Turks. They said the Persians used to have these was their border areas, and they would take slaves, young boys, as payment from the conquered Turkish princes or tribes. And this was a Turkish practice, that they would then make these boys into concubines for homosexual relations and make them into a slave army. The Persians used to do that. That's what the Arab sources say. The Persians say, yeah, that existed, but it was a Turkish institution, not us. We just adopted it. In any case, in Persian literature, it's not frowned upon like it was in Arabic sources. It is the center of poetry and praise, and in Arabic poetry, it only, as I said, only any mention of that is usually of a non-Arab poet, and the society still frowned upon it during the Abbasid era. Now, why during the Abbasid era? Well, simply because the Abbasids took power upon an Iranian army from Khorasan. Prior to them, the power was Arab. Salam.